derangement syndrome is real. It was on full display last night when Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks was on the Piers Morgan show. Nothing brings me more joy than seeing a liberal have a meltdown or become totally unhinged with the mention of Donald Trump's name. Let's get into the video.
Israel is starting a much larger regional war, and
Israel is starting on the 7th of October.
that Jonathan is going to come out here. You're not going to talk over me. I guarantee you, Jonathan comes out here and says, America must pay for it. America must die for Israel. That's what he's going to say.
Look at Candace.
You're going to have to learn how to control yourself. I know it's very difficult for you. We use a very long time to be quiet. I promise you can do that.
He's like a little child in a high chair with a bib on with no shirt, food all over his face, like, okay, Candace, whatever you say.
As I was saying,
The outcome of the US presidential election will have massive implications for America and for the world. The candidates could not be further divided on issues like immigration, the economy, and the role America should play in restoring peace. Make no mistake, this election is transformatively significant. It might be one of the most significant, in fact, in our lifetimes. But it's not existential. Kamala Harris is not an actual communist. Donald Trump is not an actual fascist. And no matter what happens in the next 4 months, a new president will be sworn into office in January next year. Just one day after a second attempt to assassinate Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton said this.
And I don't understand why it's so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is. The late, great journalist, Harry Evans, one time said that, journalists should, really try to achieve objectivity. And by that, he said, I mean, they should cover the object. Well, the object in this case is Donald Trump, his demagoguery, his danger to our country and the world, and stick with it.
Well, that narrative is dubious.
Hillary Clinton is an absolutely disgusting, vile, corrupt human being. And it's absolutely disgusting and downright laughable that she has those things to say about Trump. I suggest and urge all of you to read a book on the Clintons. Just Google Clinton's murder conspiracies. None of them are conspiracies. There's over 50 to 60 people that were directly related to the Clintons that all died with mysterious deaths. So the only person or family that's a threat to humanity in the world is Bill and Hillary Clinton, because whoever gets close to them and knows intimate knowledge about them always mysteriously ends up dying somehow.
And the timing was appalling. The media can be accused of many ill deeds, but failing to have a consistent narrative about Donald Trump is not one of them. This montage has now been viewed more than 30 million times in the aftermath of the latest attempted shooting. Excuse of poor quality, but the point is obvious.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
They go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized up to the right.
Well, the full version goes.
Really, Don Lemon? Well, your boyfriend's white. You go home and get into bed with a crazy white man every night. Must be an interesting conversation. It's just whenever Democrats call for violence, no matter if it's Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Chris Cuomo, Nancy Pelosi, the women on The View, if you even want to call them that, it's acceptable. No FBI charges, no DOJ charges, no nothing. Nobody cares. But let a conservative have a viewpoint of, well, I only believe in two genders. I think marriage is between a man and a woman. I want Trump to be president of the United States. You'll lose your job, you'll lose your freedom, and you'll be physically and attacked and possibly killed. But it's okay for Democrats, the party of good vibes. Turning the page in the positivity. It's always okay when they call for violence and murder.
Goes on and on and on. Of course, it's not difficult to find examples of Donald Trump saying outrageous things too. But there's no real value in me highlighting them because they play on the biggest TV news shows all day, every day. You will have already seen them.
You know why I can't stand guys like Piers Morgan? Because whenever they criticize Democrats, they always have to follow it up with some type of criticism when Donald Trump, when he doesn't deserve it. So it's like, you're not allowed to bash Democrats. If you're a liberal or a Democrat like Piers, you're not allowed to bash them. And if you do bash them, it must be followed up with some type of attack on Donald Trump. It's just a joke.
Everybody has. And right now, it's Democrats pushing the narrative that Trump, and only Trump, is to blame for the simmering and, in some cases, exploding tensions in American politics. Those tensions have almost got him killed, not once, but twice in just 2 months. Surely enough is now enough. There are many unanswered questions about Donald Trump's security. There's a very live debate about who is to blame for this dangerously febrile atmosphere and what should be done about it. There are questions, too, about an all-out war in the Middle East after Israel seemingly ignored the United States to launch an audacious attack on Hezbollah. 12 people are dead, including a child. Almost 3,000 were injured after pagers used by Hezbollah were remotely detonated inside Lebanon. Now even more blasts are hitting Beirut, with reports of an explosion at a funeral and hundreds injured by exploding walkie-talkies. We'll discuss it all with tonight's panel. I'm joined by the host of the Candace Owens Show on Spotify and Rumble, Candace Owens, founder and CEO of the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, and former Navy SEAL, author and founder of military contractor Black.
I wish Trump would bring Candace Owens into his cabinet somehow. You had the most incompetent black woman ever in politics, Kamala Harris. You could follow it up with one of the most competent black females ever in politics. So you go from one extreme to the next. Kamala Harris, a black female, super incompetent, hasn't earned anything, to Candace Owens, who can hold her own with anybody, have a debate with anybody, go anywhere on anybody's turf and answer any question, and she would be great as part of Donald Trump's team. I hope Trump brings her in to the fold.
Whitewater, Eric Prince. Well, welcome to all of you. Cenk Uygur, there's a lot going on. I mean, the news cycle right now feels slightly insane. You know, you've got Donald Trump nearly assassinated again, twice in 2 months now. You've got, apparently, Israel launching this extraordinary attack across the whole of Lebanon on thousands of Hezbollah terrorists and, of course, wounding and potentially killing as well civilians in the process. So there's a lot to unpack here. What do you make of it?
Okay, first of all, on Donald Trump, what do you want me to do? The guy did a coup attempt. He had fake electors, not even his own electors. You have your own slate of electors. He didn't use them because they said this is unconstitutional and illegal. You lost the election. And he said, all right, they can get in fake electors. Let's do a coup attempt here. Let's have them bum rush the Capitol. And then that'll create enough confusion that we can bring it back to the states and the Republicans will cheat for us. They even wrote it in a book. Then he said we should terminate the Constitution because he lost the election. So what do you want me to do, Piers? The guy hates democracy. He's a dictator wannabe.
Right.
So, okay, should you shoot at him? Of course not. Any action that is physical like that.
Trump hates democracy, but 14 million people voted for Joe Biden. And because Democrats thought that Joe Biden had no chance to beat Trump, they just removed him, did a total coup, as he would say, and injected Kamala Harris. Nobody voted for Kamala Harris to run for president. So the American citizens that voted for Joe Biden, Democrats took their votes, put it in the garbage can and said, no, we don't care who you voted for. We're putting Kamala in. But Trump is the threat to democracy. He's a clown. This guy's a total piece of garbage clown.
That or violent is a surrender in the intellectual field of debate and ideas. So it's a terrible idea. It's immoral, etc. But I'm not going to let up on Donald Trump for 1 second rhetorically, because he is a monster and he tried to terminate our Constitution. He tried to steal an election. I've never seen anyone so despicable in American politics. And by the way, there's another reason why I'm angry at him, because I'm a populist, and he took populism and he perverted it to just turning into his own personal con. He's such a slimy con man. I loathe him. Everyone
But you don't feel that way about Joe and Hunter Biden? You know, the same Joe Biden that took showers with his daughter until she was 22 years old. She wrote it in her diary, by the way. The same Hunter Biden that has sex with his dead brother's wife. You know, but he's not scummy, right? Cenk Uygur. It's not scummy that Hunter Biden sells America out to the highest bidder and access to his pedo daddy. You don't find any of that to be scummy or dictatorship. That's all okay. And it's all been proven. I'm not making not one thing that I said is even twisted a little bit. But Donald Trump is a scummy and a con man.
Should vote against him. He's one of the worst people I have ever seen in politics, and I'm not going to let him terminate the Constitution or destroy this democracy.
You see, what I find...
You're not going to let him do it? He was never trying to do it in the first place. And what would you do if you thought that he was, even though it's a lie? Would you get a weapon like the rest of the unhinged liberal lunatics and try to... The man? Is that what you're saying?
Extraordinary, Cenk, is you haven't even given it a beat since he nearly had his brains blown out on Sunday on a golf course, which came 2 months
give a
after.
beat, Piers? Did he give a beat? Did he
Go.
ever give a beat?
Gonna go
He
unhinged.
constantly talks about violence. Hey, if someone kicks out somebody from with a stretcher, I'll pay the legal bills. Attack people. Oh, my political opponents, I'm going to jail them. I'm going to attack
Well, to
them.
be clear, hang on. To be clear, you're trying to equate him making a joke about maybe slapping or punching someone in a crowd who's abusing him.
Exactly.
Can I make a joke
with
about
someone taking an AK?
Trump across the face?
Hang on, with somebody
Can I make that joke?
With somebody
Can I make that joke, Piers?
Hang on, somebody actually.
That's a democratic way. That's a liberal way. When the truth comes out, I'll just scream over you, yell over you, or better yet, attack you. The democratic way.
Shooting him on a rally stage. And
if you ever want to make a Democrat or a liberal have a total meltdown, just hit them with truth, logic, facts, and repeat the things that they do and say, and they'll go totally insane. They'll just lose their minds.
And then very nearly shooting him on a golf course with an AK-47. Do you not see the difference?
So, Piers, those are terrible actions. So what I'm asking you a literal question. What do you want me to just go?
Could you give me a beat?
Okay, now Donald Trump's a good... Hold on, let me finish the question.
On a human level.
Donald Trump's a good guy. Donald Trump loves democracy. Donald Trump's still the same monster he was yesterday. So I hate that people are shooting at him. It's so dumb. It's immoral.
You know why he thinks it's dumb? Not because Trump's life's in danger, or he almost lost his life. He thinks it's dumb because it's helping Trump in the polls. That's the only reason why he thinks it's dumb. Because if it wasn't helping Trump in the polls, where it was like 50-50, he would keep antagonizing people to keep making attempts on Trump's life.
So why would you be surprised? It any stronger.
Why would you be surprised?
I'm not going to tell you that Donald Trump is a decent man.
But Jake, why would you be
human being?
Why would you be surprised that people are taking drastic action? Unhinged people,
unhinged like yourselves,
who are listening to constant rhetoric from
people. You didn't answer the question.
Well,
what do you want me to do? You want me to politically surrender?
I'm asking you a question. Do you not consider for a moment that within 48 hours you're still saying monster, demagogue, dictator, blah, 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 blah.
Because that's who he is.
Yes, but this is what is...
So you want me to lie? Because tell me this. Do you want me to lie?
Let me finish. The shooter at the golf course, specifically in his recent social media posts, parroting Kamala Harris, saying that he was effectively an existential threat to democracy in America. You're doing the same. Does nothing make you pause?
You're insane.
Hillary Clinton's doing the same.
Oh wait, now Piers is insane. You just got done saying all that, but now Piers is insane. Liberalism is a mental disorder. It's a mental disorder, and it's on full display 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Does it 2,000 times worse.
Because you think he does it.
Your great idea is Democrats shouldn't campaign against your beloved Donald Trump because some moron, mentally unstable guy took a shot at him. Okay, or two of them did. You know what? I can protect Donald Trump. Ban assault weapons. That'll protect Donald Trump way more than any of, say nice things about him. Now that some lunatic took some shots at him. Here, let me be super clear. If you're on...
No, loser. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris should assign Donald Trump more Secret Service protection. But, I mean, why would they do that? You know why they wouldn't do that? Because they want the man to die. That's why.
The left, I know the right-wingers love their guns and Second Amendment remedy, and they've been riled up to do violence nonstop. But if you're on the left and you do any violence, you are not one of us. You're a stupid person who does nothing but make a worthy cause look immoral with your insanity. Never do violence. Is that clear enough?
Or maybe
He's only saying that, never do violence, because it's only helping Trump in the polls. Like, he's almost going to slip and say, never do that, because it's going to, it's helping Trump.
Maybe when they constantly hear on the airwaves people like you and Hillary Clinton and others constantly depicting Trump as an existential threat to democracy in America.
Piers, you're totally guilty. You're guilty. You're guilty. Because you support Donald Trump. Donald Trump has done 2,000 times worse, and you know it. You won't even run it on this show.
Okay.
You won't even run it on this show because Donald Trump, what he says is so much worse than anything a Democrat has ever said about him. So you won't even run it on this show. So that's it. Are you telling Donald Trump, you better shut up? You better not say any of those gross things that you always say. You know that he joked about smack.
Somebody get this man a straitjacket and make an appointment to drag him off to the mental institution. Maybe you should call your local police and have them check up on him.
Smashing Nancy Pelosi's husband's head in with a hammer.
The truth
One
is,
of his
Cenk,
lunatic fans tried to murder Nancy Pelosi's husband,
Cenk.
and he's like, it's so funny. Do you know that when they tried to murder his vice president,
Here's the problem,
he then
Cenk.
turned around and said he deserved it?
Here's the problem.
He's a psycho.
Here's
and
the
you defend
problem.
him every day,
Here's the
Piers.
problem. You have no idea what I've said about Trump when he's done these things. If you had, you wouldn't accuse me of not talking about them because
So are
I
you telling
always
me
do.
to shut up?
Because I always do.
Are you telling me to shut up?
I want to bring in Candace Owens here. Candace, look, we're 48 hours after the latest assassination attempt, and I'm listening to another liberal who I respect. I've had Cenk on a lot on this show, absolutely losing his mind about how despicable Donald Trump is and what a threat he is and a danger and so on and so on. Exactly the kind of rhetoric that Trump has said he believes is fuel.
Piers, call it like it is. An unhinged liberal loser, high estrogen, and he never got a trophy in his life and wanted a trophy for coming in 50th place. That's what it is.
These people to try and kill him. What do you make of where we are with this?
Look at his face.
What I make of all of this
She
is
didn't
that
even
if
talk
you are
yet.
going to legitimately tell people that someone is a monster, that somebody is a dictator, that somebody is literally Adolf Hitler, if you're going to tell people that this person is a constant threat, why wouldn't somebody try to eliminate that threat? That would actually be a sensible thing for somebody to do if they believe the rhetoric that is coming out of people's mouths. Now,
Then
if
all
this
the
had
right
happened,
wingers
it was
guilty,
flipped.
including you, Candace.
Cenk, you just
You're all
spoke for a
guilty.
very long
You're
time.
not 10,000 times worse than you know.
Control yourself.
Cenk.
Cenk, you're going to have to learn how to control yourself. I know it's very difficult for you, but you just had a very long time to speak and we were quiet. I promise you can do that. You need to sit on your hands, then you should do that. As I was saying, if this situation had been reversed and I had just
Look at his
watched somebody
face.
try to shoot
Oh, that
Kamala
was
Harris,
great.
I would be definitively saying how wrong it was. I would be saying to people that despite the fact that I do not want her to be president, of course, she is not so much of a threat that she needs to be shot. They don't stop this rhetoric because they do not want these assassination attempts to stop on Donald Trump. And I want to be very clear. The circumstance that we find ourselves in the West is one of remarkable privilege. And when you're in times of remarkable
It's like when liberals hear the truth, look at his face. He's ready to just lose his mind and just start screaming and rip off all his clothes and run into traffic. He just can't take it.
privilege, it creates actually an issue of having a lot of weak men, right? Weak men are the ones that are going out here
Like
proclaiming that Donald Trump is a threat, proclaiming
No,
that
like
Donald
you.
Trump is
You're a
somebody
weak man.
that is a dictator because they've never had real conflict in their lives. And you're about to see that.
Yeah, you've never had a real conflict in your life, Cenk. And I heard you wanted to box Joe Rogan. I'll tell you what, Rogan didn't respond, but I will. You could be the big hero, right? The big Democrat hero, and I can just be your biggest hater. We can box. I'll do it for free. I just want to get my hands on you, and we'll go from there.
Example right now, the difference in the demeanor between someone like Cenk and Eric Prince, who I greatly respect, and who's somebody who has seen real conflict and understands what real threat is, right? He understands real threat. Cenk is somebody that grew up, obviously, with a silver spoon in his mouth. He's never had to fight for anything in his life. And has never had to put his life before somebody else's. So it's very easy for him to behave like this, to behave demonstrating like a toddler who is throwing his toys out of the pram when he doesn't get what he wants. And so he heightens his rhetoric and says, why am I not getting what I want? This man's a dictator. This man's a threat. And he's not being realistic. And it's embarrassing to our country, whether it's a person on the right or the
haven't
left.
addressed it at all.
Cenk, I promise you are capable
He
of
wants to
control
terminate the
yourself
Constitution,
for
so you
3
like that?
minutes as some
Cenk, it's okay. I know you need to, seek a therapist because you used to, when you were little, you swam with your t-shirt on in the pool. You got picked last in kickball. You wanted a trophy for 100th place. It's all right, man. I mean, everybody has their weaknesses and faults. Just get yourself a therapist, and eventually you'll get over it.
somebody else speaks.
Let me bring in Eric. Eric, you are a former Navy SEAL.
And a patient.
And a very patient former Navy SEAL, yes. When I look at what's happened here, there are lots of strands to what's going on. And we'll come to the security aspect around Trump, which I find pretty scary, actually, that twice people have, with extraordinary ease, got into positions to assassinate him in the space of 8 weeks, which I just find quite remarkable and shocking and shameful, and a disgrace that the Secret Service has allowed that to happen. But before we get to that, this whole...
They saved his life.
Well, they didn't save his life. They put him in a position where his life nearly got taken. That's the truth. I mean, they didn't even check
the guy didn't even get off a shot.
They didn't even check the perimeter of the golf course before he was exposed for 4 hours on that course 8 weeks after.
Like, what is this loser shaking his head at? It's everywhere. Even liberal news stations, they didn't check the perimeter, and the excuse was they didn't have enough men to do it, and it wasn't one of his scheduled movements, meaning Trump. So what are you talking about there, Cenk? Huh? Like, what are you always shaking your... As soon as you tell the truth, you start shaking like...
He was shot. It is unbelievable that anyone from the Secret Service would claim anything but a dismal failure of their preparation to protect the president, in my opinion. But we'll come to that. Eric, what do you make of this debate, which is raging right now, in this debate now, about the rhetoric and the responsibility of people who are on the airwaves or in public life to dial down the rhetoric?
Look, like the video clip you opened with, there's an enormous amount of apocalyptic language spoken by the left. Call it saying he must be eliminated, he is Hitler, and that unleashes every left-wing crazy to authenticate themselves by saying, I'm going to be the hero. This guy, this Ruth guy.
Like, what are you shaking your head at? The clip. So what, are the videos lies? Nancy Pelosi saying what she's saying? Chris Cuomo, Lemon, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton. It's so nothing. Wait, if they're stunt doubles or they're twins, it's not really them? Like, what are you shaking your head at?
Guy on Sunday who was there for 12 hours stalking Donald Trump with a high-powered rifle with a scope, with ballistic plates up against the fence. And what did he have up there? A GoPro. Why? He was trophy hunting. He wanted to be the savior of the left, to say, I'm the one that killed Donald J. Trump. Trophy hunting, saying, for people like you, responding to word.
Yeah, the loser couldn't get a trophy while he was in grade school or high school, so he tried to get one as an older adult in his late 50s by, killing the president of the United States, like a total liberal, unhinged loser that he is and will always be.
That you're putting out there.
Shake your head.
Why else would he have a GoPro?
No, he wanted to get famous. You're totally right about that, Eric. And I hate that. But the way that this whole thing has been framed as if the right wing doesn't do rhetoric that is 10,000 times more dangerous and violent over and over again. Trump's fans sent pipe bombs to every one of his enemies. Trump fan hit Nancy Pelosi's husband in the head with a hammer, and Trump never even denounced it. How sick is that?
No, Nancy Pelosi's husband was in a house with his boy toy, and they had an argument over money, and the guy attacked him. Cenk. Okay? So Nancy Pelosi's husband has been caught multiple times in the car with, teenage guys or young men. So we all know what's going on there.
That he never even denounced it. He laughs about it. So if we were using the Trump standard, we'd laugh about him getting shot at. But I'm not as disgusting as Donald Trump is.
Oh, you're not?
Nancy Pelosi's husband had an interlude with some bizarre gay lover.
Exactly.
That, trust me.
Exactly.
Oh my God, I'm on here with lunatics. I'm on here with lunatics.
He's on here with lunatics. I mean, you can't even. It's just like I don't even know why to have the guy on. Everybody knows that Nancy Pelosi's husband was in the house with his boy toy and they had a physical fight. So give me a break.
He wasn't on the right.
I can't believe you just said that.
I can't believe you just told the truth. I'm gonna cry.
Wasn't on the right? Is that what Candace Owens, the lunatic, just said?
Right. Okay, just so you know, you're going to call somebody else a lunatic. You shouldn't be behaving like one in the process.
When you say, when you say these right-wingers are all nuts, do you understand the irony, given you just spent the last 10 minutes literally ranting?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's okay, though. I'm not
I
lunatic.
am loud and aggressive because that's what the Democrats and the left wing need to stand up to lunatic bullies like this. Candace Owens just said that the attacker of Paul Pelosi was not a right winger when he is a Donald Trump fan. And
it's so funny. Even in my everyday life, I get accused of all types of things by all types of people, and everything I get accused of, they're actually doing, and I'm not doing any of it. And that's what Democrats and liberals do to everybody on every scale, in every, in every walk of life. That's what Democrats do.
And a deep right winger. And Eric Prince, the lunatic, had said that he was a gay lover of Paul Pelosi. A conspiracy theory so unhinged that how am I supposed to respond to it? You can't have a rational discussion with people who don't believe in facts and logic. Piers, are you agreeing with these two lunatics that he was not a right winger?
You should have a little bit more
some
respect
sort of gay lover of Paul Pelosi?
Eric Prince as a lunatic. He served our country. You should have a little more respect and decency.
Yeah, no, he's a mercenary and a disgusting guy, by the way. How many people got...
You see this piece of garbage? He calls an ex-Navy SEAL a mercenary and just basically a killer, a contract killer, like, he was in the mafia or a hitman. But Democrats, they don't care about the military. They don't care about anybody. They don't care about the millions of people that are sexually assaulted, died from fentanyl poisoning, got murdered by illegals. They don't care about anything except for retaining power. But they always try to give off this aura like they care about the military, and they care about working class families, and they care about babies. Unless you're a newborn baby in your mom's stomach, then they want you to be butchered. They're sick. He keeps saying, oh, unhinged lunatic. And Piers is like, you just went on a 20-minute rant refusing to accept reality and facts, and you're calling everybody else a lunatic.
Did you get killed innocent people in Iraq, Eric? How many people did you have mowed down in Iraq, Eric?
Going back to your topic, Piers, perhaps it's time to bring back 19th century behavior, which maybe we had a more civil society then. If people are going to throw all kinds of bombastic language, they do so because they do it without consequence. In the 19th century in the UK, people would call them out for a duel. It doesn't have to be to the death. It could be swords. It could be bugle sticks. Maybe that would make for a more polite society. I don't know. I'm ready to go there.
You see that, Piers? You see that? Who's the first to threaten violence? Of course, Eric from the right wing.
Yeah, but
I denounce violence. I denounce it strongly and loudly.
But Cenk, what I don't think you appreciate is how ranting, incendiary rhetoric of the kind you've unleashed so far in this debate yourself can, with an impressionable, unhinged person who believes everything you're saying about Trump, as Candace said, why wouldn't that person think to themselves, yeah, we've got to get rid of him, we've got to stop him?
Okay.
So my question for you is, if you can't even dial it down within 48 hours of a second assassination attempt on Trump's life, when can you?
He can.
So, Piers, now let's have an intelligent conversation. Hold on. About where are the lines? Where are the lines? So, he asked me a question. Where are the lines? So, when Trump says these incendiary things that encourage violence, including laughing at smashing the head in of a political opponent's husband, that's what? Is that fine? Or he's bad too? How long does he have to pause saying violent things?
Listen, I've criticised Trump for lots of his incendiary language over the years. But as far as
so how long should he stop?
As far as I know, he's never called one of his opponents Adolf Hitler. And yet the left constantly...
Yeah, he did. Constantly... I don't know about Hitler, but
constantly...
But Piers,
here's my point. If the left constantly say, as they do, he's the new Hitler, who, by the way, murdered 12 million people with his Nazis, including 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. If you keep saying that often enough, as the left do in America, eventually an unhinged mind is going to think, I've got to stop the new Hitler.
Piers, all Democrats are unhinged. They think that their fragile feelings gives them the right to murder, burn down buildings, assault people. They think if they see you wearing a Donald Trump shirt or a MAGA hat, that they have the right to come put their hands on you and rip it off. They think they can do whatever they want. They're all unhinged.
That's my point.
So first of all, I've never called him Hitler, but I love Sandra Day O'Connor's.
Let's not forget, when you're on an airplane, somebody has a Trump hat on or a Trump shirt on, and literally the pilot of the plane says, oh, you can't wear that shirt on the plane. We're not going to take off until you take that shirt off or get off the plane, or you can't go into restaurants. The only fascist and racist and people acting like neo-Nazis at this point are Democrats.
A quote about, it was about Bush and Cheney at the time, about fascism. She said, we've got to be careful of these beginnings so that we don't get those endings. So what I'm worried about is a guy who says that he loves dictators and writes love letters to them, and that he loves it when everybody has to stand up and applaud and no one can disagree with the leader of the country. He loves it. He thought we should terminate the Constitution. When they said to him, hey, they're trying to murder, your fans are trying to murder.
Somebody tell this idiot that Trump was already president for 4 years. We had the best economy, most secure border. Gas prices were down. Inflation was down. It was one of the best 4 years that the United States of America ever had. He's just an idiot. That's all he is. Total idiot.
Your own vice president. He told Mark Meadows, his chief of staff, he deserves it. I have to tell people the reality about Donald Trump. So, Piers, what do you want me to do? Take a 48-hour break,
Exactly.
a 72-hour break? Or maybe do you want me to take a month and a half of a break of criticizing Donald Trump?
Well, it was interesting watching CNN yesterday, my old network, for example, where CNN finally conceded on air that actually when Kamala Harris repeated this trope about Trump, that he called for they said there would be a bloodbath if he lost the election. Everyone knows that's untrue. That's not what he said. He talked about a bloodbath in the automobile industry. CNN finally admitted that on air, but Kamala Harris repeated that in a way that implied he said there would be a literal bloodbath. So when it comes to rhetoric, yes, Donald Trump has a lot of incendiary things that come out of his mouth. I wish he didn't. But so does the left, Cenk. And your utter refusal to accept that anyone on the left can be even remotely responsible for creating an atmosphere where two people now try to kill Trump, I think is very disingenuous.
Piers, let me be clear.
Yeah,
so number one, on the bloodbath comment, on the day of and ever since, we played the whole clip on the Young Turks and told everybody he did not mean violence. He talked about an economic bloodbath.
So why did Kamala Harris
honest about it? We've never called him Hitler. And so, but Piers, I can't sit here and not tell you that he didn't try to end our democracy, because he did. So I'm asking you now for like the fourth time.
I'm going to get the other two to respond to this, but let's bring in just very quickly the Republican Congressman Corey Mills. Corey Mills, thank you very much indeed for joining me. We're having a very heated debate, ironically, about the heated debate raging around America, which may or may not.
Irony, I've been listening to the complete instability, and I'll remind Cenk and others that we should go back to Henry II, who actually sat with his knights and said, is there no one who can rid me of this meddlesome priest? His knights took that rhetoric to mean that they should go and murder the Archbishop of Canterbury, thereby actually resulting in an assassination of an individual. So I think that Eric is correct and Candace is correct that Cenk should just probably sit on his hands for a moment and just listen to what hate and vitriol he is spewing and why things have continued to ratchet up. I think that we all need to look at political violence and the condemnation, and also take a response to say that this isn't something that we want to continue by taking down the pressure and the heat which is boiling within America, and start looking at things with understanding that civil discourse is acceptable, that political discourse is acceptable, but ratcheting up the violence and this type of rhetorical, type of threats is just not to be accepted here in America.
Yeah, I completely agree. And on this separate issue of Trump security, I was staggered to see the acting director of the Secret Service, who's replaced the one who resigned after the rally shooting, basically doing a kind of victory lap on television, where he claimed everything they had done was fantastic. It all worked perfectly because one of his agents spotted the barrel of a rifle poking out of a bush and fired in that direction. Didn't hit the shooter, but scared him away. But I'm sorry, why was no one from the Secret Service thinking it would be a good idea to even check the perimeter of the golf course, given that people know where Trump plays?
Well,
They knew he was in Florida. They knew he was likely to be playing golf at that course. And the guy went and positioned himself for 12 hours right where the media go to get a clean photographic shot of Trump. I mean, it just almost, it's beyond parody, this.
Well, Pierce, if I could just go ahead and say that this is the second time that a perimeter and security bubble failure has existed. You look at the 150-yard shot by Thomas Crooks. You now look at this attempted plot to assassinate the president within 500 yards. This is why I've argued for a long time that there's three critical failures within the U.S. Secret Service, and it has nothing to do with funding. This has to do with the fact that, one, we have prioritized DEI over meritocracy, and two, the ability to conduct an actual threat assessment on a principle, that being the former President Donald Trump, and then looking at your threat mitigation strategy should not be dictated and determined by the title or the position you carry, but by the actual threat itself and what assets and resources are required to mitigate that threat. So the reality is, while they're touting that this is a great success, as Eric can tell you, and look, I'm a United States Army combat veteran. I served in the 82nd. I've worked overseas on different protection details. I can tell you that the best way to mitigate a threat is to forecast it, to prevent it from occurring in the first place, not to play reactionary. And so extending out a perimeter bubble, guaranteeing the threat assessment and matrix of security mitigation, and guaranteeing asset resources should be the first priority. But we have poor leadership in the Secret Service, we have DEI prioritization, and we have a failed strategy on how we actually allocate assets.
I mean, I've known Trump nearly 20 years as a friend, and I am genuinely concerned about his safety. I genuinely fear that between now and the election, he could actually, someone could get successful. That these assassination attempts are coming, with alarming regularity. Two in 8 weeks. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, that's exactly right. Not to mention the fact that you can't go ahead and assess the threat under President Trump to that of, say, a former president like Bill Clinton or Jimmy Carter. We have to look at the fact that President Trump is not only one of the most loved individuals, but he's also one of the most hated, and not just by the threats we've seen domestically, but that of...
And you know why he's the most hated? And you know why those other presidents aren't in danger and Obama can go take a swim in the ocean and go skiing and ride a skateboard? You know why? Because Fox News and the conservative media don't attack him and say all types of outrageous things about him so he can go live his life in peace. But when you have a liberal criminal media machine 24 hours a day filling their viewers' heads with Trump is a threat to democracy, Trump is a neo-Nazi, Trump is Hitler, you're going to have people take it into their own hands and try to take his life. That's why.
Of the FETWA, which was declared by Iran after the successful counterterrorism strike by Qasem Soleimani and also Abu Mahdi al-Mohandes. The fact that he was successful in the elimination of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the head of ISIS or Daesh. And so we have to start looking at the fact that while they can continue to try and claim that the incident that resulted on J6 was an incitement of violence through dangerous rhetoric, why can't we assume that the incitement of violence that resulted in the attempted assassination on January 13th or recently isn't of the same caliber, and why can't we treat it the same? And so, look, I've had multiple discussions with Eric. Eric's a longtime friend. He's a patriot, former Navy SEAL combat veteran. The things that Cenk was saying about him couldn't be further from the truth, because I think Eric's one of the best. But I'll tell you, I think at this point, until we can get new leadership in the Secret Service, we actually need to be thinking about private security on the internal bubble of the president, utilizing former soft guys and pushing out the Secret Service assets in the bubble to do clearance and prevent this type of incident from happening in the future.
Yeah, I mean, something's got to happen. Congressman, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Piers.
Let me bring back the panel. Candace, I do genuinely feel very apprehensive about what is happening and what may happen And I dread to think what would happen in America if somebody.
Cenk, I have a question for you. How does it feel to be like a little child that can't control himself in a room full of adults? Just a legitimate question.
He did actually assassinate Donald Trump, as they are repeatedly trying to do.
Yes, I mean, I was completely underwhelmed by the immediate reactions, even from Kamala Harris, just that simple tweet, and violence has no place, which felt like it was copy and pasted from a PR firm. There was no shock. There was no, this is absolutely wrong. There was no expressment of true frustration and disappointment, or even the recognition that that could be her, right? Like if you're trying to be a person that wants to be the president of the United States, this could potentially be you one day. So you should be outraged. I didn't sense that outrage from her. And rather, what you have correctly attest to is they just kept going on with the rhetoric the very next day, which to me is signaling to their followers that this is okay. We're getting closer and we're getting closer, and we are fine with this. We're not going to
the first assassination attempt happened. You don't even hear about it anymore. My prediction last week was by Wednesday of this week, today it's Thursday, they'd no longer hear about the second one. And they've pretty much already, as Kamala would say, turned the page.
Down to turn down the rhetoric because you guys are responding correctly. One of the things that's really frustrating, I think, for a lot of people is to watch the way the media is constantly allowed to detach themselves from the consequences of what they say, which is to say that somebody shoots up and tries to shoot a president, and the media is like, well, I was just calling him Hitler, but I never said to anyone that they should go shoot someone. And like I said earlier, what do you expect an individual to do
That's
when you are
Cenk's
saying
logic.
Adolf Hitler is taking the stage? When you are saying that we are going to completely lose democracy, which is so far from reality. It's embarrassing for Cenk to say that, because we don't have to imagine Trump as president. He already was for 4 years. People were living very well. The economy was doing very well. And so this rhetoric may have made sense in 2016. It doesn't make sense now in 2024. And so it's frustrating to see that. And I think what is good, though, is to allow people around the world to get this insight into what's happening in America, because you hear the left constantly purporting to be the side of peace, right? And then you watch someone like Cenk, right? And then you listen to people that are on the right, the awful people on the right. You listen to Eric Prince, you listen to me, and you're able to really comprehend who are the radicals in American society. Because you can scream peace, you can scream, oh, love is love all day, but you hear their rhetoric within 24 hours after a former president was almost shot, and they never dial it down. I mean, these people, I want and encourage violence all the time.
You see, Cenk, here's the problem. If this was Joe Biden or
can't
Kamala
stop.
Harris,
He's like going to go into convulsions from
line
hearing the truth.
in 8 weeks. The idea that you would not, if anyone on the Republican side used the kind of...
You ever see The Exorcism and the demon freaks out when they put the cross on him? That's all you have to do to a Democrat is get him in the corner and just put the truth on him, and they do the same. They do the same thing.
Enraged, ranting rhetoric you've deployed in this debate today within 24 hours of it happening, that you would go completely nuts at the Republicans for doing that.
Yeah.
So my thing for you is you seem to think that the justification for all your rhetoric is that, well, Donald Trump does it. And that's kind of like the old school playground thing. Well, they did that, so I can do it. Where's your own moral line? Where's your line?
He has no morals.
We're going to be better than that. If you genuinely believe that is wrong, that incendiary rhetoric is wrong, why do you deploy it?
So, Piers, no. The framing of this entire conversation is insane. So, if somebody was just watching this conversation, they would think that I ordered an attack on the Capitol or that the left wing did. No, Donald Trump had a violent mob attack our Capitol, and then you make it seem like the left has the violence problem.
It's been proven over and over and over again that Trump tweeted out and said, go home peacefully, go to your homes and be peaceful, and that was it. He didn't encourage those people to do anything, if they even did anything. So it's just the Democratic lie about January 6th never ends. Nobody wants to talk about Ray Epps, an FBI agent that was inside the Capitol and telling people, break down this door and do this. Trump asked for 20,000 soldiers to be put there, the Coast Guard or the reserves. He was denied. Nancy Pelosi's daughter has it on tape where Nancy Pelosi says the entire January 6th incident was her fault. But hey, the facts don't matter. The truth doesn't matter to, Cenk Uygur here.
And then I strongly and very loudly condemn any violence Shooting at Donald Trump is the worst thing in the world. I can't be any clearer about it.
But you don't
any
condemn,
assassination attempt, any violence, any physicality. Hold on.
You don't condemn
Hold
any of the
on.
incendiary rhetoric.
Let me finish my point. I condemn it as forcefully as I possibly can. And then what do the two right-wingers do? Neither one of them condemned the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband. Instead, they came up with crazy conspiracy theories. And what does that do? It encourages their fans to go, oh, yeah, well, it's not a big deal to attack our political opponents. It's not a big deal to attack the Capitol. It's not a big deal to send pipe bombs to Donald Trump's political opponents. So
the only difference is Nancy Pelosi's attacker, the Paul Pelosi attacker, he got 30 years in prison. Donald Trump's the latest assassin. The DOJ only wants to charge him with weapons possession. He should be charged with attempted murder. He should be charged with conspiracy to commit murder, but they only want to give him weapons charges. Go figure. Let's take care of our own when they act up.
So they encourage this kind of violence 24/7, and on January 6th, we saw it in spectacular fashion. And then you're trying to reframe the debate as criticism of Donald Trump, legitimate political criticism of Donald Trump, is somehow the thing that's causing political violence in this country. No, it is 98% right-wing political violence. The 2% where it's the left wing, I hate it, I despise it, I condemn
It's like
it.
laughing. Everybody's just laughing.
Can't be any clearer than that.
And yet, the only attempts on candidates' lives have both been against the same guy, who's the Republican nominee.
Look at them.
So look, there are lunatics in this
The
world.
truth?
So those two guys are total lunatics. The first guy wasn't even a left winger. This guy is totally unhinged from reality, voted for Trump in 2016. But it isn't about him being right wing or left wing. The point is that these guys are unhinged. So I don't want anyone taking shots at Democrats, Republicans.
No, but you're not
or
prepared
Donald
to
Trump or
change the way you
anyone.
speak about Trump.
But Piers,
which
you
he
never
believes
answer my
is
question.
feeding
You
and
never
fueling.
answer my question. So do you want me to do a unilateral political surrender for the rest of the election because some lunatic took a shot at Trump?
No, but you know what? You could take a little bit longer than 24 hours perhaps to consider whether the language from the left may have contributed to these attacks. Let me bring Eric in, who's been again waiting patiently. Eric, it seems to me America is in a dangerous place right now. Yeah, this is not a game. You've experienced actual warfare, and we're now seeing people taking weapons of war to rallies, to golf courses, to try and settle their differences with people by shooting them. And in this case, it's Donald Trump that they want to kill. This is not a good place.
If your point to this panel was to explore the spectrum of political rhetoric, I think your guest in the middle box, reps ipsa loquitur, the thing speaks for itself. To call the January 6th such an insurrection, it would be the first insurrection in human history where people showed up unarmed.
Exactly.
And if people are feeling nervous about the survival of their constitution, about their vote, people show up to a lot of rallies, and they should certainly be able to show up and not expect to see attacks. There was just another guy. There was an explosive found at a rally in New York today.
Well, I'll stop you there on that, actually, Eric, because that's now been discounted. They've actually said there were no explosives found. So since we started this, that's been now discounted.
Good, but twice in 8 weeks, with what 6 weeks left to go in the election, I really hope it's the last we've seen of political violence, because it certainly has no place for the republic to survive.
Let me bring back Candace. I want to just talk about Kamala Harris for a bit and the politics of all this, because there's no doubt she's had a little bit of a bounce now from, taking over from Biden, from the DNC, from the debate win, where I think she won that debate with Trump by sort of feeding his narcissistic streak when he fell for it. But at the same time, she's giving very few interviews. And the latest one she gave, we're going to show a little bit of it now, to me was just a load of incomprehensible word salad nothingness. Let's take a look.
Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Women and children. We have seen with horror the images coming out of Gaza. And we have to take that seriously. And we have to agree that not only must we end this war, but we have to have a goal of a two-state solution because there must be stability and peace in that region, in as much as what we do in our goal is to ensure that Israelis have security and Palestinians in equal measure have security, have self-determination and dignity.
You see, Candace, I know there was another one at the weekend where she was talking about the economy and saying that, you know, she grew up with people who were proud of their lawns and all this kind of thing. And in the debate, when she was challenged specifically about any policy stuff, doesn't really say anything. You know, she didn't say anything there about this Israel-Hamas war, which is going to have any meaningful difference to what happens. It's all this kind of, as she would put it, her desire for joy, for everyone to get along, everyone to be peaceful and happy, and everyone to be prosperous. Well, we all want that. But the more she talks about these things, the less impressed I am by what comes out of her mouth. What do you make of Kamala Harris, the candidate?
You know, I truly think that the reason that they staged an effective coup on Joe Biden was simply because obviously he had been in such mental decline that they couldn't hide it anymore. And they at least needed a candidate that could remember the lines. And going into the debate, and obviously we're still waiting for more to come out, but we do have that ABC whistleblower who said that she was given the questions ahead of time, which would mean that she was given the time frame to remember the answers. And she's good for that. Like, she can remember the answers and as if she's performing a high school play. And that's exactly what she did. But when it comes down to it, the reason why she is giving such few interviews far in between is because she is not actually able to give comprehensive answers. She doesn't actually know what her policies are, which is why she flip-flops often on what her policies are. Her policies are essentially whatever she's told to say. On the issue of Israel and Palestine, it is a vulnerable area for her. She does not want to lose the Muslim vote in America, so she's trying to just say things that sound nice, present a bunch of niceties and sound kind, essentially going, we only have a few weeks to the election. As long as I sound like I want there to be peace, we won't lose the Muslim vote and people that are passionate about this hot button issue. So to me, I see her as a little more than an actress, somebody that is more effective than obviously Joe Biden, who couldn't do that anymore for them. But everything that you're seeing with her is performative. And I am happy that there are groups that recognize that now, like particularly Black men do not seem to be falling for this whatsoever. And people are calling into question why it is that she keeps flip-flopping on so many of her policies. I don't think there's much going on upstairs with her. And she's especially weak when it comes to speaking about economics. And you can see that. You even saw that during the debate.
Yeah, I mean, Cenk, you know, I understand you don't want Trump to win. So obviously you're going to want the other side to win. But you cannot be impressed by what Kamala Harris actually says when she gets around to talking about policy. It's a lot of hot air, isn't it?
Yeah, so mostly yes. Okay, but let me be clear about a couple of things.
Even he has a hard time defending Kamala.
That answer
That's
is
insane.
terrible. That's basically her saying, I'll do everything Israel tells me to do. And by the way, she's taken over $5 million from AIPAC. Biden's taken over $11 million from AIPAC. Also, Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, his top donor is AIPAC. So anything that comes out of Republican or Democratic mouths on Israel is just paid for. Donald Trump, his top donor is Miriam Adelson, and it is reporting in Israel that he might let Israel annex the West Bank in order to please his donor. So our politics is totally, utterly corrupt. On policy, I like some of the economic populist things that she put out there. I like some of it a lot, actually. The problem with Democrats is that they don't often deliver. This is stuff that they do for campaigning. Then they deliver about 5 to 10% of it. And then the press bullies you into saying that it was miraculous, historic achievements. The problem with the Republicans is they go 100% in the wrong direction. And here I was getting all ready to agree with the panel overall because I don't like that answer by Kamala Harris. But here comes Candace Owens to make up another conspiracy theory about an ABC whistleblower, which is hilarious and ridiculous. It's been debunked thoroughly. It's just a rando.
Well, hang on. Has it been debunked thoroughly? Because I've been watching.
Yes.
Well, hang on. I've been watching ABC's responses, and I don't call that a thorough debunking at all. It looks to me like they're being very careful with the way they're wording stuff. And Bill Ackman's been on this, who's no fool. He's been doing a lot of tweeting about this, saying
Gonna go into
there's nothing
convulsions.
weird about this. This affidavit was apparently signed 2 days before
There he
the debate
goes.
and so on. Now, it may turn out to be a load of baloney, but the response by ABC and Disney so far, Cenk, has not been very commanding.
So, Piers, here we go again. You know who outed Donna Brazile for actually leaking questions to a Democrat, Hillary Clinton? Young Turks did. We found it in WikiLeaks.
And with that being said, Trump derangement syndrome was on full display tonight.